Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for joining. I want to welcome Chris Armas as a new head coach at Toronto FC. I've known Chris a long time, and he is a winner. Chris Armas, as a player, as an assistant coach, as a college coach, and most recently as a head coach, is a winner. And first and foremost, that was the most important ingredient for us in a new head coach. When we started this search, our biggest mandate was we wanted a coach who was going to embrace our culture and enhance it, not someone who was going to break it down. And Chris has relationships within our organization. He is someone of extremely high character, and he is the perfect fit for us as we move forward into this next chapter. He is the 10th head coach in Toronto FC history, which seems like a lot as we go into our 15th season, but the first head coaching change since 2014. So I do say it's a perfect chapter. I'm incredibly excited for him as he joins us as our on-field leader. And we feel very confident that he is the right man for this job at this time. Ollie?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks, everyone. For joining. Today's an exciting day, not just for the organization and for the city of Toronto for Major League Soccer, but also for Chris. And I'm elated. I know we've got the right man for the job, and this is great. So 3 things from my perspective. The first is, this was a vast, exhaustive, and methodical search. We viewed international, domestic, varying levels of experience, big clubs, small clubs, no clubs. We had many people were interested in the role, and we interviewed and met with multiple different candidates, lots of research and comprehensive analysis, reference checks. We really did a very, very thorough job in ensuring that we found the right candidate. And what I would say is Chris was the top of the charts. He was excellent. I've known Chris for a long time, but I'll say that through the conversations that we've had over the last couple of weeks and the meetings and things like that, I have been enlightened in a way and learned a lot about Chris that is all very, very exciting. So we are very, very excited about Chris to come in for his voice, for his leadership, and it's an exciting time for Toronto FC. The last thing that I'll leave you with is, before we turn it over to Chris, is that I think the last 12 months, have been really hard, for everyone. And even, after you finish a season and you'd like to catch your breath, we had to keep pushing and keep going. And I think that for everyone in football and outside of football, a lot of these things that have kind of, football has always been kind of a sanctuary. And some of the things that kind of happened in the streets have bled into our lives, had bled into our work and all in between. And so I thought about that a great deal last night, and I was thinking about Chris, and I will say that it was a moment that I had that I was, the range of emotions that we all had as I think about this job, this business, and everything else, I was really, really happy and excited. Chris is an incredible human being. He has such passion for people, passion for the job. His character is incredible, and I'm really excited about the tactics that he's going to bring in terms of how to elevate in our style of playing to a way that will help us achieve all of our goals. So very, very excited that we chose Chris and that Chris chose us. Excited for he and his family. Looking forward to supporting Chris, supporting his family, and he's the right fit. And this is a great day. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chris and the team.
Okay, well, thank you, Ali. Thank you, Bill, and for all of you being part of this special day for me and my family. I will tell you all that from the bottom of my heart. Me, my wife Justine, and my boys, we are not only grateful, but we're honored. There's a real responsibility, I know, but for this opportunity to be the next TFC head coach, excited as well. What I would say is, from the outside in all these previous years, I only had a glimpse. When we would visit BMO Field, when we would come to town, you could only get a sense of what things were like there. But what you knew for sure, because we hear things, we know what's going on. Not just that the field was perfectly cut and watered the way they wanted. Not only do you hear good things happening on the inside, you knew that the team was good. That stuff was easy for me to see. But in these last weeks, that's what really excited me. Of course, I can't wait to get started with the team. But when you start having these internal conversations with Ali Curtis and Bill Manning at first, and yes, we talked about the game, and we talk about football, and we talk about so many things, to exhaustion. And, then you start seeing, whoa, this is really a special place. The things they're emphasizing, the questions they're asking, it went much deeper than just the tactics. And it became about the people. And I'll tell you what, the last part of it was when I was able to meet with Larry Tannenbaum, and he gave me over an hour of his time and to talk about dogs, his life, talk about the game, talk about leadership, talk about what we cared about. That, you hang up that Zoom call and you say, if I only have the opportunity to work for him, to work hard, to deliver a trophy and hand it over to him and Ali and Bill, this would be a dream come true. So for the team, the standards of excellence, the people, I'm experiencing that already. That what an opportunity, and it's an understatement when I say I'm excited to get going, but I am, and also to get to know all of you a little bit better.
Thank you all very much. We will get into questions, and we will start with Neil Davidson.
Thanks, Mike. Chris, congratulations on the job and welcome to Toronto.
Thanks, Mike.
Just following on what you said, obviously you're just starting in the job here, but given your ties with Ali and Bill and the conversations you have, do you feel already that this is a good fit, that you're on the same page?
For sure. I've been through some experiences in my professional life, and from a player level to a coaching level, and I've seen top organizations work. And right away, you can see that there's a real support, there's resources, there's intelligence and strategy to what goes on with Bill and Ali. So, they've made it clear that their job is to support the head coach. They clearly support the team. They are in this together with the head coach. And yes, for that, especially for that, I feel ready for the opportunity to work for these guys and to work with them.
Josh Cloak.
Thanks, Mike. For Ali, the roster kind of as it's constructed now is a little bit like a tale of two rosters. You have some proven aging veterans. You have a lot of young emerging players. Given that your search for this, for the coach was exhaustive, what gives you the confidence right now that Chris is the right person to kind of manage that balance and that maybe, fans shouldn't judge him solely on Red Bull's record in 2019?
So what I would say, Josh, thanks for being on the call. I think that the roster, I think if you ask a lot of GMs and coaches around the league, they'd love to have TFC's roster. I think first and foremost, we've got some excellent leaders and some players with experience, whether that's they've been here for a long time or whether they've been here. We have some players that have been here for a long time on the first team, but we have first and second year players that have been at TFC just as long, although they've come up from our academy. And so they have been ingratiated in our culture and the way in which we do things and the way in which we want to play. And so I think it's all very exciting. You know, when you're putting together a roster, I think that I've always felt this way, that sometimes on the outside, what's most exciting or most intriguing is that new player that you bring in, you know, into the team. And the reality is that, you know, sometimes that is the missing piece, or that is the missing player that you need. And those decisions are really important, but equally important are those players that you either re-sign, you bring back, or you cultivate from within. And when you think about all those types of different players, we have those. And so we've got a very strong roster. We'll look to improve it. And I think that that's all very exciting. I'm excited about Chris because, you know, he has all the different elements of what we need in a coach. And he has that type of experience as well. You know, if you look at Chris's not just coaching background, but also his playing background, you know, he's a guy that has great experience, has dealt with big players, has been in big moments, and knows how to manage through those. And I think he'll be excellent, especially given the investment that we have in our player development model and helping to bring players along, especially some of those that had that got a taste of it in 2020. So 2021 and beyond, we're very excited about, and I think it's an opportunity when you do have some veteran players. And you've got some young players trying to make their way. I think that's a real golden opportunity, and we're excited about this year. And then I'd also say we have some other players that, you know, it's not, you know, you don't just draw it into a dichotomy of veteran player versus younger players. I think we've got some players that you would call in the middle, like a Richie Larea and a Marky Delgado and a Jonathan Osorio, and the list goes on. So the roster is balanced. But for sure, we'll make a few more changes before the season begins.
Christian Jack.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Appreciate the time to speak with you. Hope you and your families are all well. And Chris, congratulations on the hire. My question is for Ali or Bill. I know a lot of discussion has been about the past coach, Greg Vanney, and that past has moved on now, but he accomplished so much in Toronto. When you were looking to find the new leader, obviously I'm sure you were looking to find similarities to Greg, but what other areas were you looking that maybe Greg didn't bring that you think that this group might need? And what does Chris do with that when he ticks those boxes?
Ali, you want to take that?
Sure, absolutely. You know, I don't look at this as a Greg versus a Chris question. You know, and to be honest with you, I've been in these moments before, and I've never looked at it like that. You know, even when I first joined Red Bull, it's really trying to look at, you know, our club, our organization, our team, and what we need, who we are, and it's all very exciting. And I mentioned yesterday, I think it went out in the release, I said that, you know, this is the moment that we have in life and in sports is different than we've ever had in the history of sports in our lives. It's different, it's difficult. And so, you know, there are all these different variables that impact success. Ultimately, our objective is to win and to win trophies. And we're thinking about the Canadian Championship. We're thinking about all these other competitions that we want to compete in and we want to be successful in. But there's all these other variables that are really, really important that influence whether or not you get a shot to stand on the podium with the trophy. And those are our objectives. And when I think about Chris, I think about, first, you know, I think about the quality of his character. And he's such a great human being. And he attacks his work and his life with such integrity. His work ethic is unmatched. He's such a good person. And one of the things that I was really excited about that, I really learned through the interview process was just the way he teaches. and how he articulates, style of play, game model, all those types of things that will influence the tactics, I thought was really exciting and really important. I think there's an opportunity for us to what I would say increase the tempo in the way we play, and I think Chris will do that. I think part of that is Chris's personality, and then part of that is embedded in his philosophy of how he wants the team to play. So I think it's all very exciting, and I think that the intensity and the passion by which Chris coaches and lives his life is exciting, and I think it will fit well within the club. It'll fit well with the city. The supporters should be excited because he he brings it every single day. He commands respect out of everyone that's around him. Fortunate that I've been able to know him for some time, but like I said, I learned a lot about him even just in the last month. So I'm excited for everyone else to get to know him as well. To be honest with you, I can't wait for us to get out of COVID so that we can stop some of these virtual meetings where you see someone on a Zoom or on a WebEx, or the fans get to see what happens on the broadcast because they're watching the game on TV, but they don't get a shot to actually be in the stadium. So I'm excited for that as well, because I think you'll be able to get to know Chris in a way that's more intimate, that's more real. But very, very excited about Chris. He's a good coach. He's an excellent person. And he's going to be even better for our club. So exciting. And like I said, Chris knows, he knows us. He knows what this city is about. He knows what this club wants to do. He knows what we're built for. He knows what we're trying to achieve. Looking at Chris is the right guy, not just for now, but also for the future. So this is an exciting time.
Mike Leach.
Thanks, Mike. First, congratulations, Chris. Welcome to Toronto.
Thanks, Mike.
Ali, this question is for you. You mentioned that this was an exhaustive process. Were there any internal candidates that you looked at, with the club already? And how important was it that, the ultimate candidate being Chris had MLS experience to bring to the table with this team?
Very good question, Mike. So I think, like I said, it was really exhaustive. And I will say this, I think Bill was really important in this process. I think from the get-go, he wanted us to think big, think bold, to, really pushed me to be as thorough and exhaustive as possible. Yes, thought internal. Yes, thought external. Thought international. Thought domestic. Like I said before, we considered coaches that were at big, medium, small size clubs, as well as those that were not under contract. Those coaches that were within MLS, outside of MLS, assistant coaches. Some had varying levels of experience. We did analyticals. We ran analytics on international clubs around the world in terms of how we wanted to play and what teams played a similar way of which we wanted to play moving forward. And then we were able to target those coaches that were fitting kind of the game model. We followed up on references extensively in terms of people, their character, how they coached, history. And so we did all these types of things, like everything, it's both a science and an art, and then it's gut, but we were really, really exhaustive. And like I said, December 1st was when we announced that Greg was not coming back. And so it was important that we not take a break. And I give a lot of credit to Bill because he had his foot on the pedal as well. and had his foot on my pedal as well sometimes. So, you know, it was, you know, we've been working hard, but it's good work, you know. You know, these are the opportunities to really, you know, to improve and to get better. And I do think to have a new voice, a new leader. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I was, you know, it's daunting too, because this decision is, as we all know, these are big decisions. They're critical. They're long lasting. They impact when you look around the league and those types of things. And so we wanted to be sure. We wanted to make sure that we were doing everything that we could do to make the right decision, and not just the right decision that would appease folks on Twitter for a moment or on different social media. You know, we wanted to make the right decision for the club, because we know how that will translate into outcome and what's best for the club, what's best for the city, what's best for the team. And we wanted to make that decision with clarity, and do it for the right reasons. And I'll say, to be honest with you, you know, you do have, the clock is ticking. You know, anytime your coach leaves, you know, in December, the clock is ticking a bit, because you've got a preseason that you've got to prepare for, and next year you've got to prepare for, and those types of things. And we all know the year that we all had in 2020. So it was challenging in that sense. It was physically and emotionally challenging, but it was also quite exciting, because we know what we're looking forward to. You know, we have to get out of this pandemic and everything else in a positive way. I'm really excited about Chris. You know, I started having some of these meetings and interviews and things like that. And, you know, I remember I met with Chris, I believe on a Saturday morning. It was either a 10 or an 11 a.m. call. And after I got off that call, I was so excited. You know, maybe I'm oversharing, but it was such a different feeling, because I had known Chris for so long, but the conversation in the meeting, I learned so much more about him as a coach, and even a little bit more as a person. And I got so excited, because at that moment I knew we were going to be in the right place. TFC we were going to improve. We were going to get better. We're going to win. And so today, you know, is an exciting day. Chris is going to be great for our organization. Like I said before, I'm glad we chose him, and I'm glad he chose us. Very, very excited for Chris and his family. And I'm excited for everything that he'll bring to this club.
James Grossi.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks everybody for doing this. It's a pleasure to speak to you all. And Chris, welcome to Toronto. For Chris, you know, in terms of style, in terms of game model, what's your vision for this group? And you know, Red Bull were pretty famous for their high press, and Ali mentioned accelerating the tempo a little bit. So what's your image for how you want this team to play?
Yeah, James, good question. You know, I think the first thing to say is, before any X's and O's and what we want to do with the ball and against the ball, it's important to know how I just see the game. And it's with energy. It starts with energy and passion. And it's if you watch Alejandro Azuelo or a Michael, they play to win, and I understand that. So it becomes a way of working, it's a way of playing, it's a way of living. So it starts with the energy, because now in a team, I've seen what that can look like, where it starts transferring player to player, player to coach, coach to player, and within it starts. Now you can maybe start thinking about how to put that on the field. The supporters start to feel that, they can relate to that. In a way, it becomes, again, without the soccer yet, an identity of that team is on the front foot. That team plays together. That team never gives in. And I truly believe that because of that energy, other teams feel it. And they want to, they wonder, how can that team operate like that? How many guys do they have on the field, type of thing. So the first part, there is an energy that I see to the game. And now when you think about how goals are scored, and understanding that so many goals come from transition, how can you create a game model? How can you create a philosophy that leads to that? So then you start talking about with the ball. So we start trying to play forward and with some tempo and making the game fast. And of course, there's little things in there. Of course, the principles of playing between lines and some overloads, some +1s, and there's all of that goes into it. But I do see the game in possession, making the game fast, playing vertical. And now, of course, with this roster, with real intelligence and decision-making and some pause at times, but thinking about the verticality also leads to counter-pressing, and you start developing this rhythm. On the flip side, when you don't have the ball, it's all about, for me, taking time and space away and controlling spaces. The easy one is high pressing, but I've learned in my time and evolved that teams are bypassing the high press. So how can you become really good at a mid block or sitting a little bit deeper and controlling spaces, but still the idea of controlling spaces, taking time and space away. So it's pressing, it's compressing spaces, all with the idea of winning the ball and attacking again. So I'd say it's about making the game fast, and it's about attacking football. Attacking when we have the ball, attacking the opposition when we don't have the ball.
Laura Armstrong.
And the last part of that almost, because what I just talked about, quite honestly, means nothing unless there's a team that sticks together, that runs for each other, that's willing to work. It's not about how much you can run, but it's about intelligent working, but a team that's committed, and that's in training, and it's in game, it's off the field. And I know what that looks like. I've experienced it as a player. I've experienced it as a coach. I've seen the best coaches. I've played for them. I understand what that looks like. And that's an everyday thing. And it's not an easy thing, but it's a winning thing. It's a mentality that I can't wait to inject into the TFC team.
Apologies there, Chris. We'll now go to Laura Armstrong.
Hi, all. Congratulations on the hire. Thanks for taking the time to chat today. My first question is just a technical one about the technical director position. I'm wondering if that's still a role in the club, if it needs to be filled, or if it doesn't exist anymore, because I know Greg was technically head coach and technical director. And Chris, for you, development has been a big focus of this club over the last couple of years. I just wanted to get a sense of your philosophy about development and how big of a role you're going to play in sort of that side of the club.
Ali, I could take that quickly. Laura, there's many different terms, sporting director, general manager, technical director. Essentially all player personnel falls under Ali, and Ali has his staff and, whatever modifications he makes to that. So there is no technical director title right now, but all player personnel, soccer operations falls under Ali and the general manager. And of course, Chris as head coach will be very involved in all those decisions.
And Laura,
I think the second part was for Chris, right?
I think it's a good question, Laura. Thank you. I have experience with young players, and it's not just young players. It's how to bring them along. The Tyler Adams of the world that I got to work with, and the privilege. I'm not sure who takes credit for Tyler. He's just a gift and a gem from early on. But understanding that the young guys are hungry, that I spoke to Ali and Bill about this, that I don't think you just have young guys and expect that they're going to learn from the older guys. Of course, you want them watching, and they always are learning, maybe through osmosis. They're absorbing it, but I do think with the young players, it has to be much more deliberate. I think it's for sure guiding them the right way. It's deliberately giving them some mentors. It's extra work after training. It's pushing them and making them earn their way around the team. And then rewarding them. The young players have to play. And I think as long as they're capable and in the right doses, they won't let you down. In fact, I think in order to win and win consistently, you need the young guys on a roster. I think when you put together the championship team that Bill and Ali have, you understand that you can't win it without the veterans, the Osorios and the Jonathan and these guys. They are critical to success, because in playoffs and big moments, these are the guys that we're following. But the young players do bring energy, not just for a pressing or a style of play. They bring a freshness into a meal room, into a team that I think is important. So again, I have experience in that area. And when I have really delved into the roster, which was almost a job in itself, understanding more about Ralph Prizzo, Jaden Nelson, some of the younger players, they're exciting players and they're good, and they play with a freedom and excitement that, again, I think it's important that, to find minutes for these young players, and TFC's got some good ones.
Tom Bogert.
Everybody, thanks for taking the time, and congrats on the announcement. Chris, this one's for you. Just kind of when you were analyzing this roster and taking a closer look than you may have obviously in previous years and just scouting them, what do you see that you like? What do you see that you can work with and maybe have a couple different ideas for the players that you analyzed and saw?
Well, what I like, and where do I begin with what I like? I love the fact that it's when I look at the roster and I understand the team from scouting them and coaching against them, there's a lot in my mind. There's a lot of winners on the roster. So besides player qualities, there's mentality with a guy like Michael. There's internal leadership. There's the passion of Alejandro. There's players on this team that I think have been in big moments and can perform in big moments. Even in 2019, you see we're right there with them in the standings. They make a run, we don't, and I think that separates it. Where you have guys that have been there, there's real internal belief, and that comes from experience. So there's real experience, there's leadership that nowadays I don't see everywhere. I mean, and I've spoken to this even about a guy like Michael, where, I think early on in his career as a youngster, he saw what that might look like with guys like Peter Novak around and Stoichkov and maybe, his dad, of what that looks like every day. And that's big because, the coaches, we're not out on the field. So you need those coaches out on the field and leadership. So I think that's the initial part. The other part is I see a really intelligent team, players that make good decisions, players that can handle the ball, technical players that can use the ball, not just move the ball. They can use the ball and move opposition. They can understand spaces the way Alejandro does. He really interprets space, which this sounds easy, but try to teach that to a player is difficult. So everywhere around the field, I think there's a nice balance of, some speed in some spots, some technical ability in some spots, some winning mentality in areas, and then just what imagine for any coach to take a team that's in the overall team intelligence. I think it's a high IQ in many ways. So where I see room is I do think the team can use an injection of intensity. Not that the team didn't play hard. I think that with the ball, it would translate to more verticality, not just a possession base, but a real probing, always looking forward, finding more guys between the lines and in gaps and overloads centrally, and really trying to play. Toronto for me played fast, but even more about tempo with the ball. With the verticality, and then against the ball, that this intensity just makes us harder to play against. And it will look like some pressing at times, but pressing can happen anywhere on the field. I think for me, it's so much more about reactions and habits. And again, that's what I see defensively becoming more stingy, harder to play against, harder to concede goals, and that's an everyday training habits, taking time and space away.
Paul Atfield.
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks very much for taking the time, and congratulations on the appointment. My question is for Chris. Obviously, particularly in Europe in the last few years, we've seen some big clubs with some succession plans that haven't worked out. I'd just love to know your thoughts on the pressure and of succeeding the most successful coach in TFC history.
My wife is an OR nurse, and when she comes home every time she goes to work, I can talk about the pressure, pressure of what she has seen in this last year, and just in general, life. I'm in some I'm not a young guy. I've been around and I've experienced life, and when I think about the game, it's when I'm most alive and on the field, competing. So when you think about the work that's been done, this and shoes to fill and expectations and standards, and if we keep talking like this, you'd understand that that's exactly where a guy like me wants to be. So if I have a chance to go to a club that has ambitions, has resources, has top players, has supporters that understand the game, that show up every game, that are behind the team, an organization that cares about people, ownership, that are the most humble people you've ever met. So you keep going like this, and that's exactly where I think real competitors want to be, and that's one of the biggest reasons I came to the club. So yes, I want to win. Pressures to win. This will wake me up early, and it'll put me to bed late, and then I'll sleep well. But I'm going to work. I'm going to work hard to deliver excellence, trophies, and I can guarantee that I will coach a team that is clear. They're clear with roles. We are together. We don't cut corners, and we have a style of play that is on the front foot, and we go after every game. And that I can talk proudly of the work that I've been part of, because that was the case, and that will be the case. So I love Greg Vanney. Me and him go way back. And Dan Kalishman, Robin Fraser, Jim Liston, the whole. So it's an honor again and a privilege to follow their footsteps, and to add to it, just to add to it. I am coming here to add to the excellence, and to keep it at a high level. But this does not scare me. This excites me, let me tell you. And all competitors, I think, would feel the same.
John Molinaro. Have to mute your line there, John.
Oh, sorry about that. Chris, welcome to Toronto, to you and your family. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us. If I could ask you, depending on how the scheduling works out, your first match in charge could be the Canadian Championship final against Forge FC, who are the reigning CPL champions. And aside from playing for that trophy, the winner is also going to qualify for the CONCACAF Champions League. So it's an important match. So I'm just wondering, how much of your time / focus early on with TFC will be put towards that Canadian Championship final? How big of a priority is it for you in the organization?
I've already asked tons of questions about this. When is the game? Where's the game? You start looking at details of Forge FC. You see some MLS players that I know previously on that roster. Research the coach. It's on my mind, and it's high priority. Just finalizing a deal to get with the club, finalize the staff, and then it is Canadian Championship. Let's get the team together. Let's get the initial phase of just the onboarding, and then it is get to work, and the work is about preseason and then getting ready for that game. That tournament is big for the club. That first part of it, which we don't take lightly, we can get into the Champions League and push. We've seen what the team has done in the past, and they were right there, and that's utmost priority.
Neil Davidson.
Thanks, Mike. Two questions, if I may, to Ali or Bill. First, can you update us on the search for a DP? And secondly, I know so much is up in the air in the year ahead, including the start of the MLS season, but obviously you'd like to play home games here, but as you know, we're in a state of emergency. Is East Hartford still on the table, and what kind of options are you exploring?
Ali, why don't you take the first part? I'll take the second part.
Yeah. So in terms of the designated player, we have been in some talks with some of our targets, and we're advancing with those talks. Like a lot of things, or like a lot of signings, or it's a process, right? And until you have a deal done or something is signed, you have to continue on with that process. And so we've been very aggressive in that, making sure that we find the right player, the right fit. I think it's really, I think it's fantastic that we're able to hire Chris, and now he can be more integrated into that process in a good way, in a clear way, because you always want to start off on the front foot. And so in terms of not just, and I would say, not just a designated player, but also looking at other areas, roster areas within the team, I think we're looking at. And so there's been multiple conversations, not just with a potential designated player, but also with other areas of the roster. We feel good about the team, though. I will say that. We feel really good about the roster. It's a strong roster. But we'd like to add a designated player. And like I said, those talks have been advancing. And once we have someone signed and someone ready to go, we'll be sure to let you know. But I know that is it's an important part of what we want to achieve this year. I'm excited about it. Like we said, we want to give Chris all the tools that he needs. And so we're very focused on it.
And Neil, just to get the second part of your question, had a discussion with Steve Buffer the other day. I don't know if he's on the line. We want to play at home, and we hope we can play at home, but we are prepared for contingency. And whether that be for the Canadian Championship and hopefully then leading into CONCACAF, or the start of the MLS season, we will be prepared either way. And so again, we hope we can start and play at BMO Field. That is our goal, but we'll be ready otherwise. And obviously, we had a very good experience in East Hartford. And if depending the time of year, that certainly could be an option again if we need to. So I kind of would leave it there on that one. So we certainly have contingencies in place.
Christian Jack.
Thanks again, Mike. Just following up on Neil's point, a question for Bill. Commissioner Garber said this week that it is far more difficult for the Canadian clubs during this time. You just talked about what the process might be in 2021. However, obviously a big part of your organization and any leadership is the no excuse mentality. How much was that a process in finding the right guy, that Chris was somebody that isn't going to use that as an excuse, that the next leader of Toronto FC understands that where we are and the parameters that we are in 2021 and just go on and go forward no matter where you're playing?
Yeah, like Ali, I've known Chris a long time, and he's a guy that gets after it. And, you've even heard him here. There's no excuses. You react to situations and you try to make the most of them. And I was incredibly proud of our team this year that under difficult circumstances, I thought there was a month to 2 month period there where we were the best team in the league without a doubt. We were playing incredible soccer. I think it did wear on us a little bit at the end. But this is a group, like Chris said, we have guys that have been in big games, know what it takes. We have leadership. And if that is the case, KJ, that we're playing away from BMO Field, this is a group, and with Chris, I know Chris, we're going to be going out to win. And whether it's here, whether it's East Hartford, whether it's someplace else in the U.S., that is the mentality. And that mentality won't change. And Ali and I are both very secure in Chris in this role, that we know his mindset as well, and bringing the group together. There are no excuses. We're going to go out to win no matter where we're playing.
Josh Cloak.
Thanks, Mike. Chris, Ali told us a little bit about this 10 or 11 a.m. meeting where it was very clear there was a lot of excitement. I was hoping you could just kind of share your perspective of that first meeting, what that was like for you, and maybe what it was that Ali kind of said that really sold you on his vision for TFC in 2021.
Well, again, I'm on the surface and just from history, I knew certain things about the club, but the way Ali talked, again, putting football aside, about the people, about the standards, about the way people work and treat each other, it just, the more he spoke about it, the more it seemed like that would be a good fit for a guy like me. We share similar ideals, and that was really important to me, and maybe I think Toronto. So yeah, I mean, I got to see a video that they have put together about their club, and you know, honestly, that's not the thing that's but man, like, you can feel the passion and what the players and the connection to the supporters. And again, I've experienced that being in the building, but it is impressive. And then yeah, you could just see from the players and what it means, the connection to the city, the connection that's throughout this club, that I think makes it a different place to work. And again, I don't think that is common, because I have been to many organizations and on different levels, and I think that there's a certain again, it's for not maybe a better word, like an energy and a certain buzz to what goes on there. And again, I don't think that's normal. On the other side of things, I think, my goal when I met with Ali and Bill was just to, I think they knew me as a person on many levels, but to really share with them and give clarity to who I am as a coach and how I can add to what's going on. So and I think it was through, a presentation that shares leadership, that talked about style of play, that talked about who I am, talked about how I saw their roster. So as detailed as I could get and as clear as I could get, I could just share my vision for the team, my vision as a leader, and then my vision of how I see change needed. So yeah, that's where I'd say what that first morning Zoom call looked like.
Michael McCall.
Hi, Chris. Congratulations on the job. I just wanted to ask, it's been touched upon there by Bill. Obviously, you're coming to the club at a very different time to normal. There's a lot of unknowns as to what might happen where the team might be playing. Did you have discussions with your wife about the stresses and the strains that might be if you find out that you're not going to be in Toronto? Do you expect your family to make the move to Toronto right away? Or are you maybe going to wait and see how the season plays out?
Yeah, this was discussed even with Bill, Larry, and Ali and the club, because they were so concerned about my family, right? And so concerned that us sticking together would be an important thing. And so they helped me talk through some of that initially and get the talks going, even me and my wife, Justine, and my boys. But listen, I do think there are some restrictions right now, and just with COVID and what's going on, and that it's the time that we're in, that there's going to be a continued new normal, and the situation will have to be fluid. Me and my wife and family have discussed that, and we know that what we do, we take on an experience and we do it together. And together might mean we're not physically together in that moment, but the plan is that we will be together. One of my sons is in college, so will stay in New York, but we are a close-knit family. Again, having my family part of my experiences, and then me understanding that's not all about me. It's still me being with my wife and my kids is really important. So we will make it work however we can make it work. but as someone said earlier, it's a big picture and a longer haul. So they're getting really excited about learning more about Toronto and getting entrenched over there.
We have time for two more. We'll go to Mike Leach and then Michael Singh. Mike Leach.
Chris, we know that you've got a relationship with Michael, having played for his dad in Chicago. Have you had a chance to talk with Michael at all since making the decision to come to Toronto? And if you have, what has he relayed to you about the city and the club? And if you haven't, when do you hope to have a conversation with either Michael or your other players about sort of what your vision is going forward?
I have spoken with Michael when it was appropriate to do so, and he reiterated so much of the good that was going on inside the club, and it aligned with the conversations that I've had with the leadership team. So it didn't surprise me, but he's very realistic of when he looks at the situation, and meaning I don't know, he loves the club. He loves the club, and he cares so much. And so on every little thing, he has ideas of how to make it better. How can we, how are we going to work? So all these little aspects, he just is so invested. So it was important for me to hear, some of what was in his mind and on his heart, and how he, he's just so eager. And even coming off the year that Toronto did, even him coming back from his ankle injury, he's just really hungry. He's really hungry to get back out there. He's really hungry to lead. I think he's excited to work with me and see how that relationship's going to go. We've talked about leadership. So we spent some time talking about a few different things. And as Michael's an important part of TFC, in that there will be discussions with every player. And I've already have all of their phone numbers. I'll be hounding them sooner than later. So this is important because for me, my favorite part of every day, is usually getting to work, working with the guys, and on that, getting home to my family. So it's the two things, but I spend a lot of time with those guys at work, and that hour and a half on the field, whatever that is, that's what it's all about. So right away, investing in the players, letting them to know who I am, what I'm all about, and starting that relationship straight away is that's happening, as we speak.
And final question to Michael Singh.
Thanks, Mike. Chris, welcome to Toronto, and hope everyone is well. This question is more so for Ali and Bill. It's sort of a roster question, but back in December there, you told us that you were kind of chatting with Pablo Piatti there, and with his representatives in hopes of you can potentially bring him back to Toronto and another designated player. I was just wondering if that's still the case, and how are those conversations going?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ollie.
Yeah, so I'm still in touch with Pablo's representation. To be honest, he and I we played phone tag yesterday, and there's been some text messages and some contact today. With Greg's departure, felt it's best to first bring aboard a head coach and to really focus on more bringing in a new designated player. And so, there's always has been the potential of bringing Pablo back, but it wouldn't be as a designated player. And so the primary focus, I think, in December was really trying to advance and make progress on the head coaching search, and then some of the other player situations that we needed to sort through. One of which is a designated player. So still in conversations with Pablo and his representation. I think as the weeks go by, as the days go by and the weeks go by, Chris and I will have an opportunity to sit down and go over every player possible. Not just the ones that are on the roster, but the ones that were with us last year, and the potential ones that could join us either now or potentially in the summer. So I think we need to have those I think those conversations are best served when they're done in a comprehensive way and in a strategic way. And now that we have Chris aboard, and hopefully we'll be able to bring assistant coaches aboard as well. And as people know, we've got a very collaborative process when it comes to player acquisition and those types of things. So I'm excited to sit down with Chris and go over each player and strengths and weaknesses and all those types of things. And, you know, it's really, some of these things are cap issues as well, and how you make those things work. But now that Chris is aboard, I think we'll be able to advance some things and accelerate them. But we're still headstrong on trying to bring in the right designated player for the club. And as it pertains to Pablo or any other player, we'll have more in-depth conversations to see if there's a solution or see if there's a fit now that we've been able to bring our head coach in. I don't know, Bill, you have anything to add to that, you know?
No, you explained it perfectly.
Okay, on that note, we will conclude today. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Everyone who joined us, media, and those on Facebook, we appreciate it. Please stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll speak to you again soon.